wouldn't be an attorney if I didn't start talking by giving you a disclaimer first. We have a few goodies for the audience. We brought these hats. Says security. If you wear them, you instantly become an expert in securities litigation. Your portfolios are protected. It's also great to wear around the house if you have kids or at the office. You look like a boss. Just please avoid wearing them at the airport. They don't think it's funny at all at security. So I'm Bruno. As you can hear from a heavy French accent, I'm a French attorney. I'm also qualified in New York and Luxembourg. KSF is a securities litigation firm. We represent large institutional investors, pension funds that had a loss in the stock market, and we help them recover some of those losses through litigation. And so we are currently lead counsel in the Credit Suisse case in the US. We recently settled a case against Chinese company Too Simple for 190 million. So we do large cases and we present shareholders. So you may think that if you're a retail investor, you may think this has nothing to do with you, but you would be wrong, because let me cite someone you probably didn't expect hearing today, Karl Marx, in a room full of capitalists. But about almost 200 years ago, Karl Marx prophesied that workers' interest would never be aligned with that of the company because they didn't have any capital. So fast forward 2024, who are the biggest shareholders in companies around the world? It's the workers through the pension funds. So what has happened? Why is the interest of the workers still not completely aligned with that company? It's because there's a new class of a ruling class. It's the managers, and while most of them do a very good job, sometimes managers will commit securities fraud and manage the company in their own interest or in the interest of other stakeholders. So what I'll do today is I wanted to show you quickly how a securities fraud happens on the market and what you can do about it. So it happens like this. This is imagine a stock chart. The market fluctuates, goes up and down, and from time to time you see these events where the market goes up, and so it goes up very sharply, and at some point it tanks. And so much like you as investors, you're probably looking at companies who perform the best, and we do the opposite. We look at companies who have the worst performance, and we ask ourselves, why did the market react this way? Is it just a normal market event, or is it a sign of fraud? And so the shareholder loss will happen like this. If you purchase your share because of a false statement, the company issues statement, they say the company is great, the product is fantastic, the stock price goes up, and they keep issuing false statements to inflate the price. So we say that the shareholder purchased a share at an inflated price, and your loss is when the market learns the truth eventually, either through the regulator or the company itself or a whistleblower, then the market reacts and readjusts the price. And you have in your portfolio a stock that is devaluated compared to the original price. So that shareholder loss can be compensated. So how long, how much does it cost? This is all going to depend in the jurisdiction where you purchased your shares. I have a little chart here that shows securities litigation globally around the world in the past 5 years. What you can see on the right side is that there's a disproportionate amount of cases filed in the United States. And the reason is because non-US law, with the exception perhaps of Australia and Canada, it takes an enormous amount of time. On average, for shareholders to recover the money, to litigate a case, it takes on average 15 years, sometimes 20. So that's a very, very long time for shareholders to wait. In the US market is very efficient. It takes on average around 2 or 3 years. So what I want to do today is focus on the US market and give you a little example of how shareholders are compensated there. And if you're pension funds, if you're an asset manager and you invest in US equity, you should pay close attention to securities class actions. Because on average, let me give you a number, every year around $2 billion are distributed to shareholders by companies who've committed securities fraud. And a large portion of that money is never collected because it is simply not claimed. And so why would shareholders not do that? And it's because when we talk to pension funds, asset managers, they tell us, we don't care about it. Our clients want to come to us for products. Litigation is not part of our DNA. We don't, class action litigation are scary words. We don't want to be involved in that. And in fact, it's really the opposite. They should do something about it. And if they are, we actually recommend that they have several firms like us do this for them, so they really don't miss any opportunity. So quickly, I'm going back to this chart here. How does it work in the US? So assuming you're here now, you invested in the stock market, and it just tanked. What do you do? The next day after this happens, someone files a complaint. So a class action starts. And in the US, the way a class action works is that one claimant, so one individual or an institution, will represent everyone else, and everyone will benefit from the result that person obtains. So as a passive class member, if you were an investor during this period of fraud, which is called the class period, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to know. Is there an echo? You don't even have to know that. Sorry about that. The end of the fraud is usually quite obvious. It's when the stock market tanked. That's when no one can pretend they invest in the company and not know that something happened. But the beginning of the fraud is a lot more subjective. Is when was the first false statement made? And so if the lead plaintiff says the fraud started somewhere here in February, but you invested the bulk of your shares in January, you would be entirely excluded from the class action. And so what we offer our clients, it's called a monitoring program. We simply monitor every investment they made throughout the world globally, and we alert them of every opportunity where they could make a recovery, and how it would happen. The system is completely free. It's a system where we as attorneys are only paid if we make a recovery, so it's a no win, no fee model. And so we think it's very important for institutional investors to have that kind of system, to at least make the right decision and not just be passive in litigation at all times. I'll conclude with one example from the real world to see what a securities fraud can actually look like. Because we think securities fraud, yeah, it's only money, it's financial, it's not that serious, but the underlying events are sometimes disastrous. Take the case of Vale, for example. It was a steel manufacturing company, so they manufactured huge dams around the world, and so the managers come forward, the leaders of the company, and say, "Oh, we have this great project. We're going to build a $5 billion project of a dam in Brazil. It's going to be fantastic for the economy and the global environment." And in fact, they're bribing inspectors. The project is not safe, and a few years later, the dam collapses, causing an environmental catastrophe and human deaths. And so so when this happens, or a case like this, you obviously have several litigations: the families, the government, the local economy, and you also have the shareholders in the company who invested in the company thinking that they were respecting their ESG compliances and so on, and in fact they weren't. So this is really the takeaway from today, is that being an investor on the market, it's not just about picking the right stocks. It's also about what are you going to do when one of your stocks, when one of your investment fails, and how can you recover that money through a law firm. Thank you very much.
Wait 1 second. What's the number of that mic?
I wonder what your monitoring work that goes on the does that have possible misstatements or something gas the rate and it's about and what that is on meetings and this is systematically underreported by companies concerned. Is there anything those types of capital which you monitor on an ongoing basis? It's pretty recent.
So we would monitor every situation where a false statement has had an effect on the stock price. So if there are misstatements in any area or specifically with energy in the energy sector, we pay close attention to how has the stock price reacted every time one of those statements was made, but then you would have to prove that the statements were false. You as a shareholder, you must have a prejudice to be able to recover anything. So if the stock price later fell as a result of a misstatement, then yeah, that's an actionable situation. There's also other types of cases, perhaps closer to what you mentioned, where it's called derivative action, where a shareholder will step into the shoes of the company who itself has suffered a loss, so corporate waste or corporate mismanagement. But just false statements, it must have an effect on the share price for shareholders to do something.